Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Skura, also known as Islands in Front, and today we'll be talking about another gameplay match game analysis of mine. I used this list in the game we're going to review. This is a list I've been playing for quite some time and I've liked quite a bit. And this is exactly the same list I use in my guide right here on Metafy, my 30 matchup in-depth guide. Everything you need to know is right there. And today I want to talk about a matchup that we do not see very often, which is Mono Rad Rally. Okay, that's a matchup I've been asked about quite a few times because I mainly focus on Madness, both Red Black and Mono Red. But Rally has picked up in popularity, especially since my dear friend and teammate Fracom top forward Popegeddon with it, and he definitely put it on the map there and then. And so I was playing the Popper Challenge, and I got matched up against Mono Red Rally, actually a Polish person as well. So let's take a look at this game we played. It is game 3, post-board. As you can see, I put in 4 blasts. I put in the 5th blast as well, and then 4th intruder. I trimmed on Harrier Strixes and on the snaps. So we'll be watching and also on a counter spell because it's pretty expensive. And so we will be watching this at 2x speed. Let me do it this way. We'll be watching it at 2x speed to ensure we actually get through this, because actually if you take a look at the recording, it's like almost half an hour. It's like 25 minutes of this game 3. It was pretty robust. So let's chop in and let's get this going. And so, let me blast through this. We lost game 2, so we will be on the play now. And we see this opening hand of Intruder, of Hacker, Seer, and Double Spellstutter. And this is like a no-brainer, right? It's a no-brainer hand. We've got a 1-drop that's good turn 1 Fairy Seer, right? Hacker immediately. It works with the wall of counters of sprites. I've got even Intruder to interact in combat. I mean, this is just, you couldn't ask for something better. You could, but. So we start off with Fairy Seer, and then we see double land on top. And I think it's immediately an interesting situation. And I have discussed it with a couple of people. And I'll give you a moment to think what you would do in this position. And what I did is top the land and top the land, right? Now, there are people who would bottom, and I think that's strictly wrong. This is not your classic aggro deck, and I don't think there is a reason to try to be greedy, especially as you will want to have lands. You could go top-bottom, but I don't think that's very useful, because you will bounce that Seer back and replay it, let's say, next turn, and you will be looking for lands anyways, right? So I'm just deciding to top this, get the land of the draw step, get the second land of the Hacker, and then my Fairy Seer can just dig for action of whichever kind I want. And with this kind, with so much to do, with Hackering, with Searing, with Double Stutter, I have stuff to do. Top-bottom is defensible, bottom is strictly wrong, but I do casting my spells, and I think casting spells is pretty OP in Magic, and also it would be a disservice to this deck not to take advantage of the Mox Sapphire you can draw every game, every turn. So my opponent does something not really meaningful, which is killing the creature. Why I say not really meaningful? Because, it's fine. That's the expected behavior. Coming into red matchups, you have to assume the opponent will be killing your stuff. So like, it's no surprise, but our hand is pretty is proof, removal proof, basically. So we hope they play a 1-drop. Now, you have an option to just fire off the Spellstutter or not. Now, depending on your opponent, they will be playing around Spellstutter if they can. So you could just not play it. Now, the issue is, and I'm considering my options, you could play it just to get rid of the 2-drop from your hand. But on the other hand, there is really no rush. So I decided not to do anything, play my land and pass, not deploying anything, because I would just want to play a more kind of cautious game of trading resources, having good combat. Now we are in a similar spot now, although the difference is that now if we spell stutter, like if we played around the removal spell the previous turn, it would make sense to play around it again unless we're fine forcing it, because this is also legit. So now I'm flashing an Intruder, and this is a much better spot because I am now starting with Intruder, and kind of I might force the issues of them, so they might start with the removal that we were playing around and play spell starter on that removal spell. The worst outcome is, of course, they have double removal, both creatures die, and we untap with nothing. That would be the worst case. They Pyro, I Sprite in response, and then I hope that something survives, and nothing does. Yikes, that's pretty bad. Okay, we do draw Blast, so that's nice. And they have just 2 cards in hand, so we will want to kill the Goblin Guide. And my logic then was to pass the turn, because I think I want to just kind of just take the damage and possibly trade the Blast for something more expensive, or kind of bait a 1-drop to then stutter it. So this is actually, okay, so that's interesting, okay. So I use a different logic, which is also nice, and this is why I do these replays, because I never pre-watch them, and I always take the time to forget what I did. This is another interesting case where I actually didn't do what I thought I would be doing, which is end step creature, because I've got so much mana that I can very easily hacker it back and then have all the mana still available, which is interesting. I think the issue with blasting first, let's say if you blast the Tomb Raider, they counter with Sprite, that's the upside play. But if we blast the Tomb Raider and they say, okay, and then we flash in Sprite and it dies, it's a really awkward spot. So basically what I did in the video here, played around them saying, you blast my creature, resolves. Okay? So I actually like this play quite a bit, not gonna lie. Of course, this walks into a different thing, so you can actually pre-predict everything, because they've got 1 mana, they have a Pyroblast or a removal spell or a blank in this context. So you can think, okay, they let me untap with the Sprite, but they might want to kill my Sprite on my turn. Am I fine defending it with the Blast? Now, letting you untap can be risky because they let you Sprite that removal spell, for example, but they might be playing to the downside, so to speak. So this is a play that would be losing to your good draws, and I think it would make sense for you to have another Sprite, because you've been playing very anemically, and like you played your Sprite end step just like that, which might indicate you do have a Sprite. So the opponent may have not had that read, or just hoped you wouldn't have one. And good for them, because I didn't, but this could be a very, very, very punishing situation for them. And so I cash in the Blast here, and I am banking quite a bit on drawing something meaningful here. Now, opponents on 1 card, we're at 14 life, it's not the end of the world. But we do have some kind of awkwardish draws. And so we draw Intruder, which is awesome, although we cannot deploy everything, and I would like to play Sprite plus Intruder, because Intruder is so important to kind of have available to you. And if I remember correctly, I think I made a misstep that I later regretted, and we'll see if that's the case here. Because you could take 5, go to 9, you could play Intruder, it could eat a Blast, you could play Intruder, it could eat a Bolt. Of course, everything could eat a Bolt, so you also always have to think about this. You might want to just take the damage and end step Sprite to enable off one Might. And basically now you already have to be thinking about everything like this, right? You have to think, okay, what if they just attack and pass? What if they deploy a 1-drop or a 2-drop post-combat? What if they play a removal spell on Hacker? So all of this has to go through your mind, because it will dictate whether you should flash in Intruder or Sprite or nothing, and what your next turn would be like. So these are all the available options, right? You could flash in, either, nothing, take damage, end step, flash either or nothing, untap. And I think I took quite a bit of time on this turn to decide what to do. And in the end, I think I decided to take 5. And I did. Okay, so I didn't do what I thought I would. So basically, the idea is that it's so important to have your intruder alive and resolved that I wanted to set up a turn with intruder and a spell start. Now, your decisions and your judgment calls, because there will be decisions that are not obvious, right? Some decisions are just easy, do this, blah, 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 blah. Some decisions are going to be judgment calls, which means you're accepting the upside with the risk. And typically, they diverge. So you get much more upside if you have a lot of risk. And you have a little upside, but it's a safer play, typically. Right? So you cannot have the cake and eat the cake. Have the best play with low risk. It will typically happen in a game you're already winning. And so the further behind you are, right, you would probably go for a riskier play, higher upside play. The more ahead you are, the better likelihood for you to just play a safer conservative line. Now, there is a concept of pushing the advantage, but I think that's a bit different. So let's just stick to this. So the question is, am I ahead or am I behind? And then adopt accordingly. So now in this case, I would say I am behind, although not close to stabilizing. But I decided that I don't need to make the play of flashing an intruder, because if it fails miserably. And if it succeeds, I fog 2 damage, right? Or 3 damage total. So I decided, okay, this is not the turn to kind of pull the trigger and go all in on the cards I have. So I pass back. And now I have double Sprite or Sprite Intruder and a blocker. So I am fine to start trading resources because I'll probably convert Sprite. Maybe I'll convert Intruder. I have off one mind to gas back up. Should be fine. Opponent plays Clockwork Percussionist. I decide to just flush this in because the only way I'm punished is if they have 2 more removal spells. And I don't think they do, because I think they would have killed Hacker previously. So I just don't think they have double removal spell in hand. They play Cast into the Fire now, and now they get super punished. And this is the turning point. This is the moment. In one of the previous analyses I did, there was also a very similar situation. I was kind of behind, and I needed 1 good spot to really convert. And this is this spot, okay? Now, if the opponent goes attack all, what do you do? And I was pondering this, how to approach this, because if I want my discount on off one mind, I can cash in 1 Sprite. But if you know me and my rules, I never cash in a creature that's not Intruder for Clockwork Percussionist. So I decide to just I also have perfectly 3 mana lined up for off one mind and 1 more for Intruder. So I decide to just trade, take 7, and then go from there for next turn. I do draw the spell, so if I off one mind and draw a land, that's fine. I'm not pre-intrudering to get the discount. Ooh, okay, actually, whoa. Interesting play, Skura. So, okay, so I actually like this. So basically the logic is, if you off one mind and miss on a land, you only have that Intruder. So I'm picking the safer play of Intruder plus Dispel, wasting 2 mana. But if it works out, and I know after the draw stop they have just 2 cards, if this works out, so I've got Intruder backed up by Dispel, I then have a much better off one mind turn. I actually really like that. Very well done, Skura. I think I like that. Now, off one minding the previous turn would mean you're really, really banking on top decking a land there in the top 2 cards. And if you miss, then... So that would be a very high upside, relatively high risk play. And so, let's see what happens. We still have got quite a bit of time on the clock, and let me tell you, the game is actually very far from over. That's why I wanted to show you that. So the opponent is also considering their options. So let me skip through a little bit. Opponent's taking quite a bit of time on this decision, which I think will still end up in just attack all, and actually doesn't. Opponent tanked, I think that was a good couple of minutes, and they just said pass, which is very interesting because it actually plays around us having what we do have, and wasting the off-one mind mana. Which is very funny. So now you could flush an Intruder. I tend to value Intruder in hand for combat a lot, so I would be surprised if myself back then flashed it in, and I don't. Okay. Now, it's a fine position to pass back yet again, because it's a better position than we were previously. Now, you don't want to get caught in endlessly passing back and not progressing. That would be bad, right? Because opponent can just pass to you back and amass resources and then go at once. And so, thankfully, I drew a 1-drop that I could deploy, so I'm not ever progressing. It's a slight progression, but progression nonetheless. Opponent goes for Rally. I cannot block it, I cannot counter it. I don't have the 4th spell starter. So now I think opponent feels more confident, and now end the festivities that actually I cannot counter. That's just insane. And sadly, we just drew a single blast this game, so opponent just goes all in. And it seems like we're behind yet again. Now, I make my play of Intruder and Creature. And now I make a tough, I think, decision to double block the 2-drop or the 2-power creature and then just get hit for 3. Because I think it's a better long-term plan. Long-term meaning a couple of turns, but I think I have to get this 2-2 off the board and have really reasonably good blocks later. So this is what I do, and I actually draw off 1 mind into off 1 mind land, into off 1 mind, into spells. And it kind of looks insane, but I don't think it is. Because the issue isn't cards in hand, the issue is staying alive and then pivoting. So this turn, I mean, it's fine that for the next turn I have so much gas, but for this particular turn, not so much. I actually didn't draw any interaction. So at this point, I can go, for example, Fairy Seer, hold up Dispel, and kind of hope it's enough. And I see 2 non-interaction spells on top, but I do see a small Hacker, which is fine, and I kept it on top because it allows me to buy back Intruder without committing 2 mana that the big ninja would require. So because I also have, you have to juggle both interaction, cards you play, but also the mana, that's your bottleneck. And so opponent has a second card drawn. Now we are behind, we're dead to a lot of stuff, so we're not in a great position. And you have to kind of accept sometimes that you might lose to something. And I remember thinking here, basically, I think, okay, if you take away one screenshot from this game, I think it's this. I think Dispelling the Pyroblast is a play to win line. I think, oh, sorry, and then, yes. And then letting Pyroblast resolve is a play to lose line. Basically, if you think the opponent has a bolt in hand, right, or you're playing around the bolt, so you let the Pyroblast resolve, you're putting yourself in an awful position on the board as is, because they attack all, you have to like trade your Seer and Galeblade for like the tokens, you go to 1, and it's just very, very risky. And then you have to kind of tread on water. At some point, you will have to just jump or just even trade with Clockwork Percussionist. It's relatively risky. And then if you dispel this, you're keeping a very, very, very meaningful 1-2 on the battlefield. Now, I don't remember my logic back then, kind of tracking the game, the plays that have been made. But I think my read was also that they don't really have a bolt. So in this case, I remember vividly thinking, okay, I think countering this would be the play to win line. And I did so, and we did untap. Now, untapping itself doesn't help just yet because we have nothing. But now I feel good. Now I feel good. And now this is a slow progression to maybe actually win this game. Now, I still don't know what they could have in hand. They probably don't have the festivities. They might not have a creature. It's probably just a land. And I think my read back then was, it is a land. But unless I kind of keep up, I keep drawing enough interaction versus the cards they draw in the draw step, at some point they might actually have more cards and just kill me. So I'm counting, okay, I have 2 mana. If I scry, I cannot really pop my Ilvoy Galeblade. I'm basically looking for interaction. And now I'm counting, because this Island Ninja off the top could be top, could be bottom, could be a split. So I'm asking myself, okay, how much mana do I want to devote next turn? Because if I keep a ninja, I might want to keep another land. Because this is a winning spot now, but you don't want to fumble it. Because I'm thinking, okay, if I bottom, I attack with just 1 ninja, I get 2 cards deeper because I clean off 2, draw step ninja. However, if I keep that ninja on top, I also get 1 deeper if I ninja twice. So I'm calculating all of this, thinking what to do with this. We have 6 mana, the land would be the 7th. So if we double ninja, then we have 3 left. So we would have, for example, Counterspell Blast. I decide, I think, to top the ninja, bottom the land. But I'm not sure I was actually happy with this decision. Oh, I remember the logic. So I think I wanted to keep the ninja, but not even play it. Not double ninja, but keep that ninja for a turn later, I think. They play Great Furnace, which is something I thought they would have in hand. Now I draw the ninja. I can attack in the air. So the question is, how do I attack? And whether I actually start kind of multi-attacking. Because you need to get this game over with. So I go to attacks. I attack with Seer. And I think I'm just a little bit under-attacking just yet. But I think I want to prepare for next turn. I don't draw another piece of interaction. And this is actually getting a bit scary. So I'm really hoping to Fairy Seer into something relevant. And this is Dispel on top, which I'll keep. But sadly, I have 4 mana, so I cannot draw Dispel and play both Dispel and Counterspell. So again, I could still lose right now. And I see Gingerbrute. And I'm like, no, it's not happening. And I spent, again, a good couple of minutes thinking, what do I do about this Gingerbrute while I have 5 minutes on the clock? And I'm put again in an awkward position. I'm saying, I will lose to this Gingerbrute. Like, this is as good as a Bolt with just Suspend 2 or something. So I have to counter it. And so, now knowing opponent has a lot of good top decks, and as we saw, such as more Gingerbrutes, this Dispel off the top might not cut it. So I untap, and now I have to kind of cleverly attack, and I think I start multi-attacking, kind of feeling the pressure of good top decks that they could have. Bam, bam, let's hope to draw something. We draw an island, that's not very good. We scry double bottom, we play a land. We want to play the lands because we need to have mana to pop Ilvoice. Opponent draws a land, and thankfully they deploy it. I do play Ilvoy, and actually, because they have a single card in hand, and is the end step, the only thing they could play is Instant Speed. I have this spell. I'm proactively cracking my Ilvoy to get 1 card deeper into more interaction. I see Spell Stutter, so it gives me a bit, oof. And I see Counter Spell. And now I'm locking this game in. Now, finally, it will take, a minute or so, but now the game is locked. Wow. And when I played this game live, I thought I'm just stealing this game from my opponent's mouth, And I think I'm calculating with that the opponent can multi-block and stuff, and I've got 2 counter spells with another one off the top, and the game concludes shortly after. So if I could play this game again, it's very possible I would have played differently. There are a couple of judgment calls. If I had infinite time, I would think about some of the plays a bit longer, even though I took my fair share of time. I remember I was blasting through it with you now, but I had like 3 minutes left. For example, the moment when I said that Pyroblast countering it is a play to win or play to lose line. If I had more time, I would have probably tried to calculate and map out, okay, let's say I don't counter and I do have a bolt and I'm playing around the bolt and I'm losing the 1-2. Can I actually make trades and kind of survive, assuming they have a bolt? And I didn't have enough time, especially in the moment, to actually be able to properly go through these lines, which you should if you do have the time, because maybe the conclusion, like with chess engines, would be that the decision is bad or good, but given enough time and computation actually changes the reverses, So maybe the line was to let that die, again, if given enough time to think about this. So I think that was a very exciting game, very interesting game, very, very close. I could have lost at multiple points. It all started also with the removal of my turn 1 creature, which kind of derailed the whole plan. But yes, we ended up taking it down. I hope you enjoy this game as much as I did, and I hope you remember that you can always join my free public Discord of Fairies. We have almost 1,000 people there, and we discuss everything Mono Blue Fae, and also, of course, my MetaFi with my content, high-level content, and as you can see down also in my sponsored Ultimate Guard and Boozer MTG to buy some cards that you might need for the next pop again, actually. That's coming soon in, of course, Italy. And so, thank you very much for watching, and as always, please remember to hold my hand, and let's pass it together, and I will see you next time. Cheers!